When I first started my Ko-fi page, I wasn't even sure if anyone would be interested in what I had to offer. I was hoping for a couple supporters, so I kept the number of spots relatively low. But something really amazing happened. I made over $360 my first month on Ko-fi and actually sold out all the spots for my physical tier. I'm still so shocked, but also so grateful. So I'm breaking down everything that has made my first month so successful. So I think one of the most important thing for me was that I didn't just suddenly announce my membership club to my audience. I took some time to get my audiences warmed up to the idea of having or checking out my Ko-fi page. And I did this by making posts such as art tutorials and sharing my brush packs with people. It was like a breadcrumb trail that led people to my page and got people to check it out. As a result, people who were interested gave me a follow on Ko-fi and I started having a small audience. And one of the most important part for this was I had freebies. The freebies I gave out on Ko-fi included a brush pack that I used for my illustrations, and I also created a fully illustrated digital bundle, which is a wallpaper and icon set. It includes over 6 wallpapers, almost 42 icons and widgets, and all of it was for free. The reason why I did this is because I was worried about 2 things. First, I was worried that Ko-fi wasn't too well known by anyone and they may not be used often. As a result, people may not want to create an account. Because creating an account to subscribe may be tedious for some people, it might actually turn people off from supporting and thinking that they will do it later. And sometimes people just forget. I was also worried that people might be hesitant if they didn't know what I was offering. Not having anything to rely on could make people not want to subscribe. So offering the cherry blossom wallpaper and icon set as a freebie and sharing that with my audience did a couple amazing things. First, it brought people to my page. So my posts about my brush pack and my art tutorials kind of blew up on Instagram, and it brought in a lot of new audiences that got people to check out my page and click my links. And I know that I particularly love free stuff, especially if they're cute, and so many people came for the freebie and eventually stayed for my content. Honestly, it was really surprising because I didn't expect so many people would be interested in my products. And I also got a few surprise donations, which is so kind and validating, and I'm really, really grateful for that. Second, having the freebies was like a free trial of my work. I mentioned how I was worried that my audience wouldn't know what they're subscribing to. So by having the icon set that was for free for my audience, they can see the exact amount of effort and thought I put into the digital product. And that way my audience got a taste of the quality and the style that they could expect. And if they like the free version enough, they might be more willing to also subscribe to the paid variation. And in the future, I plan to also update the freebies every once in a while to keep it fresh and have people more interested. Number 3, this one is less about the audience but more for me. Having that freebie was also a practice run for me. I was actually also very new to Ko-fi myself and wasn't familiar with Ko-fi's interface. So being able to go through that process of understanding how big my icon should be, how big the widgets should be, how to size all my files properly and upload them to Ko-fi. It was a great trial process for me, and I just feel that it's so much better to actually make my beginner mistakes on a free product where the stakes were low rather than disappointing a paying member. And I think that's really important if you want to build that trust and rapport with your subscribers from day one. So in summary, the first main thing I did was prepping my audience with valuable, no strings attached content that was absolutely. Now for the less fun part is more about how I marketed my Ko-fi membership to my audiences. I think this part I was the most nervous on, and that's because I still feel really nervous about constantly feeding the same information or posts to audiences, and I didn't want them to get bored of it. But I try to focus on the numbers and just thinking that I'm sharing my art. So first up, I had very crystal clear graphics. My first Ko-fi post was actually almost more than 13 pages long, where I announced I joined Ko-fi on the first page, but then every page after that was little infographics where I showed the exact products and a little description next to each picture about what they're getting. So each page was dedicated to a specific product, and I would have the icons, the widgets, the wallpapers, and the coloring pages with the printables. And then I will move on to my monthly tier, which I show the stickers and the prints that they would get along with the sticker flicks. My thinking was that if someone is going to give me their hard-earned money, they need to know exactly what they're getting, and I want them to be able to love every single product they get when they choose to subscribe. And I didn't want anyone confused about what they're getting, so I really wanted the posts to be easy to understand. I actually also made multiple versions too, since Instagram supports 4:5 ratio for the images, but Ko-fi and Etsy supported a 1:1 ratio, since I do plan to upload my products to Etsy after the month is over. And as I mentioned before, I was really worried about spamming my followers and sounding annoying. So instead of posting join my club every post, I tried to post about the art, since I wanted to focus on reusable content and to weave that message into my post more naturally. So I had 2 prints. I posted them separately with a little caption, and then I mentioned that they can get these as prints in my monthly membership. I did the same for the icons and the widgets, and surprisingly, the icons and widgets are really popular. I had a couple people after August ask me if it would be available, and they will be. So overall, I've come to realize just sharing the art itself is super helpful in getting people interested. Hi, I'm editing the video, and I also want to quickly mention one more thing, and that is, if you know what works for you, definitely use it to your advantage. And I'm saying this because I know for me personally, my artworks usually get the most attention. And at least for me, for my feeds and my audiences, square stickers have been pretty trendy, and I've seen it being used a lot. So it was the combination of sharing those square stickered illustrations that I think got people interested in, even without me mentioning the word Ko-fi in the graphic itself, compared to other types of posts. Lastly, I also made a post about how I found inspiration for my art, and I heavily referenced my August sticker sheet design for that post, where I show the process for how I got my inspiration to my sketches, and then I also show the final product. And as a result, it lets people understand what I did to eventually create that and get people curious and interested. Personally, I feel like this approach felt a lot more genuine to me, just because I really didn't want to spam my audience with the constant advertisement. But being able to post the artwork itself was really important, because I kept the thing on top of everyone's mind every time I post, and also it made my feed really consistent, because all throughout August it was just like that same color palette on my page, and it's super aesthetic, so I really appreciate it. And the posts of the artworks themselves actually attracted a lot more interests and questions about my Ko-fi rather than the actual Ko-fi announcement itself, which is really surprising for me, but I'm still grateful nevertheless. So looking back, I think the success of my first month came down to 3 things. First, I tried to provide value up front without asking for anything in return, and it allowed people to trust and believe in my artwork. I also used very clear graphic, and that way I can be transparent with my audience. I also try to maintain a non-spammy, gentle marketing that I felt was more authentic to me rather than constantly trying to push that monthly club in front of everyone. Overall, I also want to remind you that the work doesn't really stop once you get the members in your club. One of my goals of having a coffee shop is to really build a community with my audience. So I try to post often and ask them for opinions and give them voting power. And the reason for that is I really appreciate it when my audiences provide feedback for me and let me know how they feel. And as a result, I think I also become more mindful and a better artist overall in the products I create. This also is a great way at keeping them engaged since you're updating them with your progress and making sure that you are as transparent as possible, especially since I'm outsourcing my stickers. And if there are delays, they should be the first to know since this is their money that's supporting me. And there are definitely many ways of keeping them engaged, such as showing little snippets of you packing your orders, working on new designs, and you let them have the first sneak peek before you schedule them out to your Instagram page, and just little thank you posts thanking them and asking them for feedback are all really easy to do and goes a long way. I think it helps foster that connection and show them that you're really grateful for their support and that you're working on the products that they're supporting. Overall, there's still so much for me to learn and I'm definitely going to keep experimenting, but I'm really happy and so proud of myself for how my monthly coffee club turned out, and I'm really incredibly grateful for every single person who joined. And even if you don't join, that's okay because you're technically here watching the video, so I'm also grateful for that too. So my August rewards are already closed, but if you're interested in September's reward, I've already shared them on my Instagram profile and on my Ko-fi page. And since August spots were all filled up, I will also be opening more spots up for September, which is really crazy for me to say, but I'm really thrilled. And if you're an artist who is watching this and wants to start a monthly club, I hope my experiences were helpful or at least a little encouraging. You got this. Fighting! And as always, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next video.